What if I told you that the way that we talk about modesty in the church is actually having the opposite effect of what we intend? My name is Rebecca Lindenbach, and I'm part of a research team that has conducted the largest studies of whether or not the teachings that we preach in church actually work. We surveyed 7,000 women about their experiences in youth group and about how it affected them both as teenagers and today. One of the most common teachings from the high school years that girls receive is about modesty. And there's 4 main categories of this teaching that we looked at. First of all, the idea that boys are visual in a way that girls will never understand. Second, the idea that a girl who dresses immodestly is worse than a girl who dresses modestly. Third, that girls should dress in a way so they don't cause their brothers in Christ to stumble. And 4, the idea that a boy cannot help but lust after a girl if she is dressed like she's trying to incite it. Now, we are teaching these messages for a variety of reasons that are not at all malicious. And one of the big ones that we hear from youth pastors, from Sunday school teachers, from concerned parents all the time is the idea, well, I don't want the kinds of men who look at 14-year-olds like that to look at this 14-year-old like that. And that is a shared concern. Let's be very clear. No one wants a 14-year-old to be ogled. But here's the problem. Our research found that when you teach teenagers these modesty messages, it increases their rates of being sexually harassed in the church. Yeah, you heard that right. It doesn't protect them, it exposes them. And so let's just talk for a minute about why, because this actually does make sense if we break it down. Picture if you're the kind of man who does in fact ogle 14-year-olds, and you're looking for a church, and you have a church over here that doesn't talk about what girls are wearing and doesn't police people's dress codes, and you're feeling a lot of bad emotions about how all these girls are making me lust. And then you see this church over here that's saying, yes, those girls are making you lust. That is not okay. They should cover up. This is something you can't help it because that girl is dressed like she's trying to incite your lust. Which church are you going to feel welcome at? In our attempts to shield girls from predatory men, we have accidentally put out dog whistles to those predatory men to say, hey, this church is safe for you. And this is not the goal. Like, I'm not trying to say there's some huge conspiracy. There's not. This is just well-intentions gone awry. It's not only that these places are kind of dog whistles for unhealthy and unsafe men. It also is that the girls in these environments who are being taught these messages have a higher rate of peer-on-peer sexual harassment and assault as well. So what this means is that groups of teenagers at churches that don't talk about modesty have less sexual assault happening than youth groups where they are talking about modesty. So what's happening there? When youth leaders talk to girls about how their bodies can cause their brothers in Christ to stumble, what ends up happening is twofold. First of all, the boys in that youth group are also hearing girls' bodies cause you to stumble. She is trying to incite it. You are visual in a way that they will never understand. And that's a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old hormoned up boy whose brain is trying to create these connections about how do I relate to girls? How do I feel about, what my male sexuality is doing? They're going through stuff. And then you're throwing this idea at them that girls' bodies are threatening. Girls' bodies are the problem. And instead of being kind of, I'm going to be real honest, desensitized to female bodies, they're hypersensitized to them. And we've normalized an environment of boys not having self-control because of what a girl wore. So you, in essence, and I know this is really hard to hear. I know this is a tough thing to talk about. We are grooming young boys to become sexual predators in how we talk about female bodies. We are, in essence, raising a group of Christian incels, and it's quite terrifying. I mean, the stats were horrifying for us to see. The fact that teaching girls modesty means that their peers are more likely to rape them means that those boys are internalizing some pretty negative stuff too. But the other thing that happens in these youth groups where you're teaching about modesty, you're talking about girls' bodies as inciting lust and temptation vessels that will cause a spiritual noose to be hung around a young boy's neck if she wears a miniskirt. That came out of a magazine article from Focus on the Family for girls, by the way, from when I was growing up. What ends up happening is these girls have been told for now years at this point, your body can cause a boy to stumble. You're dressed like you're trying to incite his lust. He can't help it. You made that choice. You could have just worn something else. Your body is designed by God to make boys and men have a reaction to beauty because they're visual in a way that you can never understand. So what happens when that girl's boyfriend pushes too far? What happens when that girl is in a car with the boy who's not respecting her no? Our studies have found that those girls are far less likely to be able to recognize when they have been raped, when they have been assaulted, and they are far more likely to blame themselves for their own sexual abuse. It's not protecting girls from predatory men to teach girls what you put on your body can cause men to act badly towards you. But of course, you still might be looking at me saying, I understand all that, but there is the fact of the matter is that there are men who are healthy out there and there are men that are scary out there. And girls have to understand that this is just how this works so that they're protected from those men long term. Okay, I understand. I've heard this argument. Believe me, you're not going to throw anything at me I haven't heard. But here's what's interesting. You might say, okay, well, maybe there's something that explains all that, but long term it's better because we want our girls to be raised to understand they have to be aware. Okay, if that's the case, then why is it that the girls who believe these modesty messages about how men are just like this are 67% more likely to marry an abuser? If this is going to simply give them the education that they need about how the world is and how some men just aren't safe and girls need to know this, why is their risk of marrying an abuser so much higher? Because we didn't actually teach them that there is a difference between healthy and unsafe men. What we did was we said God designed men to be visual in a way you don't understand. God designed your body to be appealing to men in a way that you have to be careful to cover up because you can incite something in him. And what girls learned is my body has the ability to take a man from being a good man to a bad man, and it's my body's fault. What we didn't teach them was men who look at you with lust are not safe. What we said is you need to keep men safe from lust by covering up. Those are two fundamentally different things. And I think if we had done the first, we actually would be in a better place, but we did the second. But finally, you might be saying, okay, but let's be very honest here. Even getting all the abuse issues and all the sexual assault issues, even if we dealt with all of that, I just want my girl to respect her body. I don't love that she's walking around looking like something on an Instagram For You page. I want her to just understand that she is a temple and that she is worth not just flaunting to everyone. That might be your perspective, okay? You might be worried about the self-esteem issues. Like, I just want my daughter to be confident in who she is so she knows she doesn't have to wear a low-cut top to get attention. But here's the thing. When you teach girls these modesty messages, their self-esteem takes a beating. It does. It's bad, friends. It's bad in high school and it's bad later. And do you know why that is? We tried to teach our girls, your body is precious. But what we told them is your body is dangerous. The modesty message does not inherently tell a girl your body is precious. The modesty messages that are focused on making sure that women cover up so that men don't lust actually tells girls, hey, you know how you're going through puberty right now and your body feels foreign to you and you're getting bigger in some areas and you just feel like you don't even recognize yourself and you're self-conscious and is everyone looking at these new boobs I have and oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, at the same time, you need to be realizing that your body is being looked at by everyone. Everyone is looking at you all of the time. And if you show too much, they're going to be looking at you sexually. And yeah, you're 13 years old and that freaks you out, but you need to know that because it's how God intended. This is what God designed. And so you over there with the slightly larger breasts than your friend, you need to cover up more because your body is more dangerous than your flat-chested friend. And oh, you over there with the more curvaceous figure, let's make sure that you don't wear anything too tight because the 60-year-old elders are sitting in the front row and they might try to look up your skirt. These girls are bombarded with hyper-focus on what they are wearing from an incredibly young age. They are taught to be hyper-focused on what they are wearing and hyper-critical of their bodies and making sure that everything is covered up, seeing every part of themselves as a potential liability from as young as 11 years old. Again, none of this was the goal. The goal was always to protect girls, to help them feel proud of who they are, to present themselves in a way that commands respect when they enter a room, right? That's what we want for the girls, and that's not what we gave them. The modesty messages specifically about how men are visual in a way that women aren't, that girls need to be careful how they dress, they don't cause people to stumble into sin. These had disastrous consequences because they had unintended effects, because the message that we thought we were teaching girls is not the message that they learned. So what do? You can absolutely do dress codes. Like, dress codes are normal. We have them at work, we have them at schools, we have them everywhere. But let's stop talking about modesty as something that girls do to protect boys. Let's stop acting like boys are the only ones with sex drives. There are so many studies out there that will show you 15-year-old girls definitely have sex drives. I'm sorry, have any of you found a fan fiction website? So we just need to stop the modesty messages, okay? Let's be very clear, they're not working. What we are trying to do might be honorable, but the way that we have done it has been disastrous. So let's figure out a better way forward to do this together. Let's figure out a way where we can talk about clothing choices without blaming girls for just having female bodies. And most importantly, let's stop normalizing the idea that women can make men predatory or not by what they put on their body. And if you want more information about how to have these conversations, we have a ton of ways you can talk about this in our book, She Deserves Better, that is based on our groundbreaking research of 7,000 women.